So I'm Stephen Brooks, or Steve. I'm 44 years old and I live in Hampshire. I have a C4, C5 spinal cord injury which happened in 2008 as a result of a motorbike accident. It's knocked off my bike by another driver. What that means is I broke my neck, so I'm paralysed from sort of like the shoulders down, no movement, no sensation. Bit of biceps, that's about it, and the upper limbs, but no hands. Just really affects my day-to-day life, really. So a spinal cord injury is the only part of the body that really can't heal itself. So once it's any damage to it, it's permanent. So I'm in a wheelchair all the time. Loss of bladder and bowel function, so that has to be managed by carers. And in terms of carers, I have 24-hour care, so there's always somebody around to help me do the things I need to do to get to work, to help me be a dad, sort of interact with the family and stuff, and carry out all my personal care and personal routines. I was in the military. I was in the Royal Navy. I did that for about 15 years. The accident happened where it happened. I was medically discharged out after about a year, rehabilitation in hospital. I do miss the Navy. I miss the life. I miss that's not just the social interaction, but it's a way of life. It was a big change because we couldn't go back to my old house because it couldn't be adapted. I ended up going to hospital, spending just over a year in hospitals and rehabilitation centres, and then coming back to essentially my new home, but it wasn't my home. It didn't feel like home at first. Yeah, it was big change, big adaptation, and sort of losing my job as well. So I was at Headley Court in rehabilitation. Canine Partners were doing a sort of like a demonstration. Within the first 30 seconds, they were showing me how the dog could take my shoe off, undo my laces, pull the shoe off, and I was just, considering the lack of functionality I had at the time, I was just amazed by what those dogs could do, so I applied straight away. So I've had 2 Canine Partners to date. I had Major, who was a black lab. He was my first Canine Partner. He was a great dog. He was just very energetic and required a lot of exercise, a lot of work, and it was just a little bit too much for me at the time. So yeah, it just wasn't quite working out, that sort of partnership. The second dog I had was Kizzy. She was a Labrador Retriever cross, beautiful dog, perfect match. And I had her for about 7 years. So I applied for my successor dog after about 6 months after my previous dog, Kizzy, passed away. It was about December 21. After my injury, I was very withdrawn, and at the time I had 2 very young daughters, and I was really struggling to sort of interact with them with this sort of level of paralysis, not being able to move, not being able to be the dad I want to be, or I envisioned myself being. So when Major and Kizzy sort of came, in particular Kizzy, it was just, the dogs were so attentive to me, so attentive to the kids. It just allowed me to sort of interact with my children so much better. I could go to the park with them. Kizzy could come with me. I wouldn't have to take a carer. I could be the dad in the park, just encouraging the kids as they're playing. And if I got into trouble, I could always just sort of, Kizzy was there to help me. I'm relying a lot more on my care team now. So if I was to drop my phone, historically Kizzy would get that for me. If I dropped my keys, if I was out and about and something happened, I could always rely on Kizzy for that. Now I've always got somebody with me all the time, which is great, and don't get me wrong, I'm really appreciative of my care team, but I need that independence in my life as well. That's what I relied on Kizzy for. In terms of like exercise, just getting out and about, you've got a dog, it's got to go out twice a day whether you want to or not. That's kind of dropped off for me now. I very rarely, unless I'm going out for, with the family or something, I don't really go out for the house for myself. Spinal cord injuries, you tend to get something called nerve pain. And it's a form of chronic pain, and you can't get rid of it. It won't go, but you can distract yourself from it. So having a dog, being able to focus on the dog, being able to focus on Kizzy, training with her, taking her out for exercise, it was a distraction. At night as well, sometimes, not so much now, but I used to have nightmares related to sort of what caused my injury. She used to wake up and just kind of nudge me and just put her head on my shoulder. That she always knew it's the connection. It felt like she always knew what I needed. Going out twice a day with the dog, exercising for a couple of hours, just getting out and just being outside and outdoors. I live in a village, and it's quite a nice area to get out and about in. There's lots of other dog walkers, so that kind of interaction has dropped off as well. Just sort of, I can't go too adventurous in this because I don't want to fall out. But even if I did, if I was out on my own with Kizzy, if I got into trouble, Kizzy was able to get help. Now I don't go in it. If I'm going out somewhere, I very rarely go unless I'm confident of the route and it's confident that it's flat. So yeah, so I don't go anywhere without a carer really. So there's always someone around just to sort of stabilise my upper body to make sure that doesn't happen. Kizzy used to be able to, if I was to lean over to the side, I used to be able to stick my arm out and Kizzy would jump up and help me recover, so regain my stability. You know, it took a while to Kizzy to learn that, and the aftercare team helped her sort of help me train her to do that. Just her jumping up on my arm re-stabilised my position, and it was such a godsend for me, you know, to allow me to go out and be really independent, not have somebody with me, and just sort of reset. So I mean, that's my biggest fear, is falling out of my wheelchair in public. One, because of the damage I could do, and two, obviously the embarrassment of falling out of my wheelchair. But having done, yeah, I miss having that. Things have definitely changed. I mean, Nicola, my wife, is always going to be my wife, but she has to take on additional sort of roles as well. So if my carer's taking a break, then my wife will step in and sort of provide that cover. I had to start work earlier because normally I would allow that time to sort of go out and have that time to walk the dog in the morning before I would start work. So obviously I start work a little bit earlier now. I think just having that sort of interaction, having that exercise first thing in the morning was like really good. The other interactions that I used to have, that the dogs allowed me to have, was obviously getting out and about and meeting other people. Major, we met Prince Harry, so it's just those social interactions. And Kizzy, she was an award-winning dog. She won a military award, Soldiering On Award, sort of the Canine Award. She's a brilliant dog. I miss her. Really miss her. I think I'll always need a dog. My level of disability, reliance on other people, I think as I get older it's only going to get more. So I'm always going to be sort of relying on somebody or something, hopefully a dog, to help me. And I just think the dog gives me, as much as I can give to the dog gives me back so much more. So yeah, I think I'll always need a dog. I'll always need a canine partner.